Hello and welcome to your daily dose of Satoshi's news. Today's date is Tuesday, the 17th of December 2024, the year of 1 million transactions per second or more. Experience the best of both worlds today at betbitcoinsv.com, the best casino of sports betting on chain. Have a little flutter in private using the original protocol and genuine Bitcoin rights. Let's see what we got in store for us today. The eve of CSW's contempt of court hearing. Everybody's waiting with bated breath on that. But besides that, we've got some articles here from Cointelegraph saying EU Securities and Markets Authority publishes final guidance for MICA. Alright, we'll just have a look at that. We've got this article, cut and pasted here by Arthur Van Pelt, complaining about Bitstamp and how they can't cash out because we know that being in BTC, they are addicted to US dollar. In fact, BTC doesn't work without US dollar. It doesn't even pump without Tether. It won't even move. They are completely reliant on the Ponzi scheme in order to cash out because BTC is absolutely worthless. We've got this hilarious recording of Peter Thiel stuttering like he doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. Truth Machine has found this absolute gem of a podcast here, and again looks like they've got like the Illuminati symbol upside down here, and I've actually got the video recording of the very sentence that this chap was talking about with CSW, so we'll have a look at that. That was at the Bitcoin Investor Conference in Las Vegas, Nevada from October 29th to 30th in 2015. I've just posted this. I was trying to think like how can I explain the commoditization of data just even more. So how can I put it? What are the elements that commoditize it, and what is it that's common about each of them? So that's what I've put there. We'll go over. Got a little bit of 365 days of Bitcoin history, and then we'll go through the figures as per usual. Even though I've just deleted that one. There we go. Because look at that, we're looking amazing as usual. So yeah, and then that will be the end of the show. Right, let's get into it.
Satoshi, like a cowboy in the West, riding on the blockchain that they call the very best. 1 million strong, the transactions flying free. Just wait for the Terra node, you'll surely see.
Here we go. Right, EU Securities and Markets Authority publishes final guidance for MICA 1 hour ago. So this final guidance calls for a commonly adopted, again the word common, adopted application of the definition of financial instruments across EU member states. And again, so this is quite interesting. So again, I mean, they're calling it the European Union. And in the book of Daniel, God specifically said, "Thou shalt not cleave," meaning the countries of Europe will never come together. And this is why the cabal are actually trying to create the European Union, because they're trying to go against the word of God, that thou shalt not cleave. Well, they're trying to make them cleave, but it's not really working out too well for them, is it? But again, they're saying, oh, we're trying to put rules in that, are across Europe. But, the UK came out of the EU and all that, and it's breaking up, and fingers crossed. So, the European Securities and Markets Authority, the ESMA, has released its final guidance report for the member states taking the final transition to the markets in crypto assets. Alright, okay, markets in crypto assets regulation. Laws formed under the MICA regulations began taking effect on June 2024, with final implementation scheduled for December 30th. The latest and final guidance for the ESMA is meant to help member states still seeking regulatory clarity with their final implementations ahead of the deadline. They've got no authority whatsoever. None. Regulation. Bullshit. As Cointelegraph reported, the stablecoin market has surged under the MICA guidance. However, as recently as December 10th, at least 6 European Union member states, Belgium, Italy, Poland, Portugal, Luxembourg and Romania, were reporting difficulties in meeting the end-of-year deadline due to uncertainty and lack of regulatory clarity in the initial MICA documents. That's because they don't know what Bitcoin is. How can you explain it when you don't know what it is? No wonder it doesn't make sense to these people. Per the ESMA's final guidance report, quotes here, stakeholders are proof of stake, it's a Ponzi scheme, generally appreciated the clarity of the draft guidelines and the comprehensive approach taken by the ESMA. Several respondents highlighted the need for further clarity because they don't know the difference between a commodity and a security on specific criteria and conditions, while others expressed concerns about the potential administrative burden the draft guidelines might impose. Yeah, because that's exactly what they're trying to do. Regulatory uncertainty. Member states and industry stakeholders, Ponzi schemers, were active in the commentary period between association reports, which participation from dozens of member states and stakeholders. The feedback resulted in EMSA guidance on 12 distinct concerns, the majority of which relate to clarifying classifications for specific asset and their legal use. And again, they're trying to short out shitcoins from digital commodities. Well, how is Bitcoin a commodity? Why are all these shitcoin securities? They have no idea, and they're never going to explain it either, because they don't want them to know. Chief among the concerns was the member states would arrive at different interpretations of many MICA laws due to insufficient explanations. Several respondents highlighted the potential for legal uncertainty due to the scope of the guidelines and the way the conditions and the criteria detailed in the guidelines could be understood by NCAs, National Competent Authorities, wrote the EMSA, adding that this could lead to diverging interpretations across member states. Again, trying to unite them. God doesn't want it to happen. To address these concerns, the ESMA included a series of explanatory scenarios. Again, they've got to use metaphors and scenarios because they don't want to explain it properly, covering various aspects of digital asset regulation under MICA. However, according to the report, MICA has declined to provide real-world examples because the guidelines cannot express an opinion on the classification of specific cryptocurrencies or similar assets because they don't want people to know. The report also addressed concerns over the EU's markets in financial instruments derivative guidance. The MIFID 2 was rolled out after the 2008 global financial crisis to standardize financial practices across the bloc. Member states are calling for an update to the regulation to include a clear definition of crypto assets as financial instruments. In response, the ESMA's guidance suggests providing additional clarity on MIFID 2 rules without changing the definition of financial instruments. This would presumably strike a balance between determining the conditions and criteria used to classify crypto assets and enabling one-size-fits-all approach to regulation. Member states were also worried that there wasn't enough clarity in the MICA's laws for them to make determinations on which assets were legally transferable, how to promote and ensure technology neutrality under the current rules, and how classifications such as securities, derivatives, and emission allowances applied across different crypto asset types. Despite this being the financial guidance report ahead of December 30th deadline, the ESMA wrote throughout the 49-page document that it would continue to work with lawmakers and stakeholders to develop further clarity without changing the letter of the laws. Honestly, they're going to have a tall order doing that because we know they're trying to hoodwink them, trying to get them all in Ponzi scheming. It's outrageous. So check this out. Arthur Van Pelt posted here. He said, "This gives you an idea how pissed I am with Bitstamp as we speak. You guys have just found this email in your inbox." And so this email says, somebody has replied saying, "Dear Bitstamp, 3 days have passed again and I still have no access to my money." He's saying it's my money. He who creates owns. Did he create it? No, he didn't. Not yours. For 12 days in a row now, I cannot pay my bills because they need to cash out. I cannot book flight tickets for January and February 2025. And tomorrow I will go to London for my work. So he'll be going to London reporting on the Craig Wright case. And I cannot even afford the hotel that I booked because he needs to cash out anymore. Obviously, you guys want me to sleep in a cardboard box on the London streets. This is now reaching the stage of beyond acceptable. This is criminal. Oh, the hypocrisy, the irony. I will now start asking advice from my lawyers about what we need to do in the form of legal proceedings or otherwise to get you guys moving into the right direction. Sorry, Bitstamp, you asked for it. Arthur Van Pelt. Oh, look at that. He's pissed because his Ponzi partners aren't playing ball. Would you believe it? That's hilarious. That's hilarious. How do you like it, Arthur? Looks like you don't like it. Don't like being scammed, do you? Oh, dear. Scammer being scammed. That's what we're looking at there. Oh, dear. Right, let's have a listen to this douchebag. Peter, listen to this. And when I say douchebag, he sounds like an absolute douchebag. Listen to this.
You sold any of your Bitcoin?
I still hold some. I've you know, there are all these ways I didn't buy as much as I should have, and I'm not sure it's going to go up that dramatically from here.
From here.
Brilliant. Let's have him to this again, shall we?
You sold any of your Bitcoin?
I still hold some. I've you know, there are all these ways I didn't buy as much as I should have, and I'm not sure it's going to go up that dramatically. I'm not sure it's going to go up, and I'm not sure it's going to go up that dramatically from here.
I wonder if he's trying to give them a hint as to what's going on, because we know that BTC is pumped by Tether. You know, so is he in on the Tether as to what's going on? I heard the other day somebody had regulation had been passed to clamp down on Tether. You know, without Tether, BTC is literally nothing, and I really mean that, like nothing. So Truth Machine posted, he said, some people say the PayPal mafia control the world and they are all in on BTC SegWitCoin. Again, that's a great coin. But here, Peter Thiel doesn't seem too enthusiastic about the price of BTC going up much more and sounds like he's sold some. And Truth Machine also posted this video. What a fantastic find this was. Right, let's have a listen to this. So he says, Patrick Brine asked about who he thinks Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin, is. He cannot help but mention there is evidence for Dr. Craig Wright and reveals that Dr. Wright did in fact have the Honeywell supercomputer that critics claimed was impossible for him to have. Let's have a listen.
It was in the 90s out in the San Francisco Bay Area, a group, the Cypherpunks. There was an online message board among the Cypherpunks where they were wrestling these problems. And Nick and Adam, who I both have met on numerous occasions, as well as half a dozen other names, were part of that cypherpunk movement. So I wouldn't be surprised if it came out of that cypherpunk group and it was some collaborative effort, and they agree. And one of them is the guy who wrote up the white paper. But now you know everything I know. Okay, but I don't think it's the guy from Australia, Craig Wright. I don't think it's.
Yeah, anyone, but I don't think it's Craig Wright. Yeah, that's right.
However,
sorry, interrupt. No, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
You know what's weird about him? He appeared out of nowhere, and he somehow got himself, I don't know, gosh, it must have been about 10 years ago, up onto a stage at a crypto conference, and no one had heard of the guy. And he ends up on stage, and he's up there with some of the world's great cryptographers like Adam Beck, and no one had ever heard of the guy. And I know people who were in the audience who had this experience. And he's up there holding his own with these world famous cryptographers. And then, but everyone was wondering who, but then the guy gave himself away. He said, well, I have a Honeywell XYZ supercomputer. And everyone knew that had to be a lie because there's like 90 of them ever made. And they know that the NSA has 6, and they know that the IBM has 4, and they know that Stanford has 2, and they know where they all are. It's 5 got sent to Russia. No, they know where they all are. And no way this guy has this Honeywell, that he claimed. Well, a few months later, there was someone over in Australia who went by to see him and came out and said, I visited this guy, Craig Wright, in his building. And sure enough, in his basement, he has one of these 90 Honeywell machines. But I think, so it is funny. There is some evidence, but I don't think he's really Satoshi.
Yeah, he's definitely a CIA asset. A lot of us think anyway. Okay, we have
a possibility too.
We have a little bit of a different theory. We believe that.
Right, let's have a listen to that again. He gave himself away, but you don't think he is. What, he gave himself away because he said he had a computer. People didn't believe he had the computer. But then when someone went there, they found out that he did have the computer. So what? He gave himself away that he was Satoshi, but you don't think he is? Is that what you're saying? This makes no sense whatsoever. Let's listen to this again.
He appeared out of nowhere. And he somehow got himself, I don't know, gosh, it must have been about 10 years ago, up onto a stage at a crypto conference, and no one had heard of the guy. And he ends up on stage, and he's up there with some of the world's great cryptographers like Adam Beck, and no one had ever heard of the guy. And I know people who were in the audience who had this experience, and he's up there holding his own with these world famous cryptographers. And then, but everyone was wondering who, but then the guy gave himself away.
What, he gave himself away? But you don't think he is Satoshi, even though he's given himself away that he is Satoshi, because he does have the supercomputer that nobody thought he should have. What are you saying here?
He said, well, I have a Honeywell XYZ supercomputer, and everyone knew that had to be a lie because
everyone knew it had to be a lie, but you've just told us that it wasn't a lie.
There's like 90 of them ever made, and they know that the NSA has 6, and they know that the IBM has 4, and they know that Stanford has 2, and they know where they all are. It's 5 got sent to Russia. No, they know where they all are, and no way this guy has this Honeywell, that he claimed.
But he did, because somebody went there and visited. So what are you saying?
Well, a few months later, there was someone over in Australia who went by to see him and came out and said, I visited this guy, Craig Wright, in his building. And sure enough, in his basement, he has one of these 90 Honeywell machines. So
what? So he gave himself away because he was telling a lie that he didn't have a Honeywell machine, even though we've just found out that everyone thought it was a lie, was actually telling the truth. Like, what are you on about?
But I think, so it is funny. There is some evidence.
Oh, yeah, it's really funny.
But I don't think he's really Satoshi.
No, that's the funny part. So it is funny. He does actually have one of those supercomputers that nobody thought they had, but I don't think he's Satoshi.
Yeah, he's definitely a CIA asset.
Whatever. Absolute donuts. So I've actually got a clip here of the guy asking Craig about the computer. So let's have a listen.
My name is Julian Tosh. I kind of push Bitcoins here in Las Vegas. I had a question for Dr. Wright. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. You said you have a 15th largest supercomputer modeling Bitcoin. I would like to hear more about that. If I heard that incorrectly, then let me know too.
No, it's called Tulip. If you have a look in the top 500 site, we're site number 5547. It's my second computer. Well, the first one was called Coin. And we're now building our new one, which will be in Iceland, which will even be bigger. If we do it right, we'll hopefully edge over the NSA this time. We were 3% lower in power than the NSA.
3% what?
Yes, 3% lower in power than the NSA.
Wow.
Not bad for I think we're the only private supercomputer in the top 100.
Moving on to another subject, which is computer security. So first of all,
there we go. So that was Craig at the 2015 Nevada Bitcoin conference. Here we go. This is the actual video itself of him up there. This is the famous part. Yeah, I mean, let's have a listen.
Dr. Craig, the other day can you hear us, by the way? All of us okay?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay.
The other day I saw you tweet something, and I think it was Bitcoin is a commodity. Did you say that?
I said money is a commodity.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't exactly sure if I remember that correctly. So can you elaborate on what you mean by that and how that relates to Bitcoin for you?
People argue about whether Bitcoin is a commodity or not. Now, it's quite simple, it is, but so is money. Throughout history, whether we're talking about gold or fiat itself, the value of exchange there is something that can have other uses. It's only recently that we've come into a unpegged currency that has no real relationship into anything. I mean, up until the 30s, we had a gold exchange standard, which most people don't even realize wasn't a gold standard. It involved less than 5% of the actual gold that was on the books in America was actually held. So there's always been a commoditization of money. And in fact, it is the ultimate commodity. It's the exchange protocol that we use for about everything else. So Bitcoin is a commodity for the simple fact that money is a commodity.
Okay, and so I think I tweeted something back to, I mean, no one knows me to be provocative or snarky, so, but as you said, there's been a discussion over whether or not it's a commodity or a currency, and that's primarily been for the purpose of taxation and such. And I think I said something to the effect of, oh, so it can therefore be taxed as a currency and a commodity, and you said neither. So how is it that you feel about, obviously it's a peer-to-peer currency and protocol that you don't want government involvement in?
I'm not in any, I mean, that's looking at it too small. Obviously, unfortunately, not many people seem to have knowledge of assembly code or forth or anything like that anymore. And I listened to one of Nick's earlier talks, and he was talking about the limitations. But in machine code, there's none of these limitations. And in fact, we have a rather rich instruction set in Bitcoin. It's just not well defined yet. And then the next part is we have the Ethereum going out there saying we need to build a new stack because we can't loop. But no one seems to realize that Forth actually does loop. You have to use a separate control stack. It's not like a lot of code forms where you actually have a single stack. Forth and Forth-like languages use a dual stack architecture. So everything that we're talking about in derived contracts can actually be done directly in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin protocol. It's just going to take time for people to understand it.
Since you mentioned,
And honestly, who else would know that besides Satoshi Nakamoto? Seriously.
Nick, then I'm going to allow him to respond to that. You need your microphone though, sweet. Or the water.
No, I have not heard that opinion before. I've never heard anybody call the Bitcoin script Turing complete, and I don't believe that's accurate.
Well, you've just blown yourself out of the water as a contender for Satoshi Nakamoto there, haven't you?
He just said you're wrong.
The difference is the script itself isn't. What you can do is you have in Forth a control loop. So the looping function is separate to the actual loop, the script itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's an esoteric thing.
Famous line there. That's an esoteric thing that will go down in history.
If it's not Turing complete, then it's not a general purpose language like Ethereum, regardless of
but that would
that
assume
partial
that the only way of actually
type of
writing code would be to do it directly in a script that runs on the machine.
And Joseph Van Perling sat there in the hat, knows that Craig is Satoshi Nakamoto. And yeah, fair play to him, didn't reveal who he was at the time.
Okay, so do you have another option?
Well, this would be a good topic for you to write a paper on, because that's certainly an unconventional view you have. So
There we go. There we go. More proof of Satoshi Nakamoto. How much more proof do you actually want? So let's talk about Bitcoin as a commodity. And again, it just blows my mind. I'm literally the only individual in the world that has outlined these 5 elements that commoditize the Bitcoin protocol, and that are these. So I've put a post here saying what's common about the elements that commoditize Bitcoin, BSV. 1, there has to be economic competition in order to create a common opportunity. If there is no common opportunity, it is a security, end of. Because without competition, there is no way to distribute the coins. There has to be some kind of central controlled governance. If you can't compete for the coins, there's no other way to distribute them. No other way. So it has to be an economically competitive distribution model. A chain of digital signatures means that everybody is housed. There's common accountability in the network because everybody's using it, uploading a digital signature with their transactions, therefore taking account for what they're doing. And it means that no one can do anything on the network that nobody else would know about because there is a digital signature attached to every single transaction, every upgrade, every change, if you want to call it, or improvement or scaling or just whatever. There is a digital signature attached to everything. You can see it, and it means that no one can do anything that nobody else would know about if there is a chain of digital signatures, which creates common accountability. You also need unbounded scale for common utility so that anyone and everyone can use it. And it means that limitations and restrictions can't be manufactured and therefore the network not be manipulated. Has to be unbounded utility so anyone and everyone can use it. They have a common access to it. There'll also be a fixed token supply. So in other words, there has to be a common asset so that no one can inflate it or deflate it. So no one has any control over it. And finally, there has to be a locked protocol to create a common foundation. A foundation that everybody can use and everybody can build upon that doesn't change. That's it. So without those 5 things there, you have a securitized network. The network must have those 5 things in place at all time from the very beginning. And that's why. Because without those 5, you securitize the network. I'm trying my best to make it as clear as day, I'm trying. But, shitcoiners be shit for brains. You know what that's like. So, 17th of December. Yeah, the BTC reached the peak of its first global significant bull run at $19,927. After this date, BCH was listed on Coinbase on the 19th of December 2017, crashing its price 2 days later. The crypto market experienced its first altcoin season where things like XRP and everything went absolutely crazy. So yeah, it looks like we're about to have the Coinbase listing on December the 19th. Whoa, that's when literally all the shit hit the fan. That was amazing. Even though BTC's over $100,000 now. Jeepers. Right, let's get into the figures then. It's been 26 minutes already. So we've got Gradecoin, BTC, Segwit Protocol, $106,186. And remember, hash rate and network nodes are vanity. Transactions and block size are sanity. And look at that, we've just got a price of $65. That is crazy. Hash rate 0.06, network nodes 0.2. But let's have a look at transactions, 99.28. 81 million transactions in the last 24 hours. And I actually looked back at previous historical transactions, and I think the previous high was like 63 million transactions, and now I've seen it at 90 million transactions. That's improved by a third. Absolutely massive. Let's look at the coin BitInfo charts. 81,765,975 transactions, representing 96.6% of the market's overall transaction volume, leaving only 3.3% for the entire 39,000 shitcoins to fit in between. Absolutely nuts. Just have a look at the rest of these then. Have a look at the blocks coming through. This is getting juicy. Here we are. Look at this. We've almost got a gigabyte block there. 952 megabytes. 716. 292. 309. Beautiful. Hash rate proof of work since 1st of August, so that should all be on Bitcoin BSV because that's the original protocol. It goes back to the Genesis block. That's not the altcoin. It's 224,000 times cheaper to transact on Bitcoin than Gradecoin. Mining Bitcoin at a 37.7% loss compared to Gradecoin and all that. Subcent fees 1 Satoshi per transaction, amazing. Block reward ratio looking great there. Blockchain growth, yeah, it's strictly necessary that the longest chain is always considered the valid one. Gradecoin hash rate other miners 1.39. Bcrash other miners 29. Fish price cash, who cares? And then we got Bitcoin. Let's have a look at this. Where are we now? Kuv with 43.48. Tal 29.81. QD-Link 20.5. Gorilla Pool 3.1. Others 2.48. Mining Dutch 0.62. Let's have a look at the exchanges reserve. We'll see that they are cashing out as they have been. Look at that. Down they go. So exchanges reserves, they are not holding any of this shitcoin in reserves, even though the price is shooting up. What do you know? What do you make of that? It's because the exchanges don't want it. They know what's coming, and they won't be able to get out. They're literally bailing out water right now as we speak. Let's have a look at the tether weather. So what's gone in today? 140.2, so another 200 million. Another 200 million in today. Good grief. Oh, it's calmed down a little bit since then. What was that? That's when it went from 138.6 up to 139.8. 1.2 billion. 1.2 billion in that one print there. Whoa. Whoa. And people wonder where the shitcoin market gets his price from. That's where. Right. Oh, look, the longs are going down. The longs are going down. Maybe they're taking heed of what Peter Thiel said. Apart from the let's have a look at Bitcoin. Here we go. See what's been going on. Oof. Look at that. Price suppression. Price suppression is what that is. Let's have a look at Bitcoin versus Gregcoin. Oh, so it looks like we had a rally earlier today. But look at that. Pushing it down, pushing it down, pushing it down. Pushing it down even further. Good grief. We know what they're trying to do, but they just simply won't be able to do it forever because there is a fixed supply. You know, I would say, I mean, going up against the hand of Satoshi, they have no idea what they're up against. This is Bitcoin versus Gregcoin. Yep, it's gone upsy, then downs again. Being pushed down further, yeah, just trying to increase that trading margin. But they can't be doing it forever. Sooner or later, the traders will realise. I mean, again, this is probably why Samson Mao's trying to say that BTC is going to go to 1 million. I mean, who knows what Tether can do? You know, it's crazy, but I've been reading articles where they're investigating Tether. Without Tether, BTC is literally a goner. Nothing there. And let's have a look at this. So, look, 24-hour trading volume right back down to $68 billion. And we know that the 1.4 million BTC represents more than 140 billion. 140 billion. I mean, good grief. I mean, it's almost 50% more than this. If this was 70 billion and you've got 140 billion, yeah, and you only need 5% of that, I mean, it would absolutely annihilate it. It's more than double. The 140 BTC represents more than double the 24-hour trade volume, and all you need is 5%, let alone 5%. You've got 200% of it. Yeah, it's crazy. And these shitcoiners with shit for brains have literally no idea about how thin the ice is that they're skating on. Ugh. Well, you know, I can sleep at night because I know I've tried to warn them. But if you can't explain it to them, then that's up to them, really. Where is Bitcoin now? Oh, it's down at number 88. Maybe they're trying to push it into the 90s. Volume just 30 million. Tiny. Here's the volume. These exchanges keep changing. What? Zendixon? What the hell? The hell's that come from? Liquidity. So now we've got Hotcoin Global with the most liquidity. How did you get the most liquidity on that? That's more than OKX. And then Pinex I've never really heard of. You know? Zendixon? I mean, it's just weird. You know, but there's all sorts of skullduggery going on behind the scenes. Anyway, that is a 33-minute show. We'll leave it there for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. So as ever, if you enjoyed these updates, please ding your donations for your appreciation to either Satoshi@Sendme.com, Handcash.io, Simply.cash, Relays.com, Rockwallet.me or Senti.ch. We'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed it. As ever, be aware, take care, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one.